There we go. All right, I do think that we are live. We're a little bit later than normal, but it's because I forgot my microphone and my camera, so that wouldn't have went very well, would it? Trying to run any kind of video chat or anything without a camera and without a microphone. I don't know how that would have went at all. So let's move this away from there. So let me know if you can hear me and see everything, because I've had to change things around. And for some reason, it kept telling me that my USB connection thing wasn't working. So let me know if you've come on, if you can hear me and see me okay. All right. And then we'll all clear. Cool. Excellent. All right. Very good, loud and clear. Okay. Now, there's a few things that we want to chat about tonight. Hey, Gory, how you doing? Lee, Hines, excellent, lovely. And Facebook users, we can't see it unless you put it in there. Your name. Something that you have to do with this. What's it called again? StreamYard thing. Petri, how you doing? Dave, hiya, Jessica. Mary, how are you doing? All right, good. Now what I'm going to do, I've got a few books that I want to show you and sort of like recommend that you have a look at. Hi, Tom. Remember on Facebook, if you don't put like your name in with StreamYard, I can't see who you are. Excellent, Petri. Glad to hear it. So just remember that. So I can't see your name if you're on Facebook and you haven't given it or whatever you would call it to StreamYard. Okay. Hiya, Raymond. And Judy, hi. How are you doing? Hiya, Ian. It's getting warm in here. As well as like recommending. No, I haven't yet, Gobi. I'll have a look at that. Actually, I'll tell you what, give me a second. I'm going to get a pen. A pen. And I'll make notes as we go on. Get a highlighter as well, just in case I do need to make any notes. Hi, Stephen. I'm just going to write that down. I'll write it on here. Ooh. Hey, Taylor. Hello, Marie. Hey, Derek. Yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay. Yeah. We're just going to go over a little bit of sort of like the bills of exchange, and also from the bills of exchange, going over to House Joint Resolution 192. Just hey, Darius. Just that obviously there's a lot of people that will have like viewing and everything like that from the United States. So we have to like hi Noel. Give people information from the United States that's relevant to them, as well as the UK and Australia and everything else. Hiya, Wendy. Hi, Des. So it's funny because it's got like I don't know what you would call it, like a sarcastic message, I think maybe. That film about Silence of the Lambs. You ever seen that? Long time ago. And there was the woman, the FBI agent. She was called something like Clarice or something like that. And so it might have been her herself, and sent me this sarcastic message saying about why are you telling people about these American things. I did that. Scared to touch anything now. Yeah. Oh, don't know what I did there. Everything just went blank. All right, so can everybody see me all right again now then? I just, for some reason, I touched something and I wiped off the camera and the microphone both at the same time. Yeah, hiya, Michael. But anyway, and I say, yeah, some fava beans and county. But anyway, she sent me this very, very weird like message. It's like saying, you know, why are you saying things about like the UCC? Other people don't tell you about like American stuff and UCC. Like, do you know, I've got like, it's more me about like 30% on the of people that listen that are from the United States. So, you know, why aren't I going to tell them about like how to do like American things and the House Joint Resolution 192, and the UCC's got a lot of different aspects to it, not just the United States. You know, I mean, we know, I don't know if you've had a look into it, but like Australia itself, we're you know, we have no governments. You know that by now, don't you? So, but for in particular Australia, it's actually, we've seen it registered as a corporation in the United States, right? So it's registered in the United States, so it's a United States corporation in Australia. Yeah. So it comes under whatever the United States says it comes under, which is the UCC. So you kind of tell me that, you know, that the UCC is purely just on one thing. It's not. It covers a lot of different things. No, I didn't get that bad in the rain. It wasn't so bad up on the East Coast, but it was lovely getting up there. You know, where I used to come from. Going up on the beautiful hills. It was in the middle of a farm in the middle of nowhere with virtually hiya Jez, with virtually no internet to get into. I was like hanging out this like window over this oven. I was trying to like get a signal, you know. I mean, the place was fantastic. It was just absolutely beautiful, looking out over the mountains and everything. But you know, it was just difficult getting that. I expected to be, you know, kind of like left alone in a farm for a few days to get on with things, and but there you go. It was great though. I was like, you know, leaning on the oven, trying. I was thinking, I hope it doesn't switch it on and melt me laptop, you know. But totally forgot what I was talking about now. That's your fault, that. But I mean, it was nice. It was nice. It only rained a couple of times. The car was absolutely filthy. They had some. This is true as well. They actually had ploughing, Scottish ploughing competition, Scottish ploughing championships in this farm. So like the 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 whole place was just covered in ploughed up mud. So getting to and from the place, it was just everything was covered. I had Tony in mud. It was just mud everywhere. And when we came back and I was like parked up, you could actually smell all the cow manure, you know, all over the car. But anyway, so we've had a little bit of a clean up. But yeah, anyway, it's just like, you know, I thought it was a bit strange why like try to be rude to me about like mentioning stuff like that. Because also, which I do want to direct a few people to some courses that I've been looking at. And I've just been trying to pull them up on my laptop and it's all disappeared, but I can tell you where they are and I can give you certain names and everything where to look for these courses on the 1099, okay, which are 1099 OID, original issuer discount. Now what that does is it returns to you the money that was spent by you creating the credit. So what I mean by you creating the credit is, let's just say for instance, I haven't got it, but like you use your bank card. It can be a credit card, but let's just stick with a bank because it's like easy for me to talk about. Now, when I first heard of this, it was like, oh, touch the button again. I've got to stop doing things. And I've done a lot of studying, and I'm gonna tell you about his website and everything, and you can go and have a look at it yourself. Just for your own information. You can watch it, not watch it. Like, I'm just telling you these things, all right? But it's most of you maybe even seen the Tazadaq, all right? Tazadaq Sharbe. So on it, this is his book. What's it called? Commercial Warfare. So on this one here, Commercial Warfare, it tells you a lot on here about they're not the same as my documents, but some of them can cross-reference. But the names of them are a little bit similar, but they are very different. But on here and on a lot of other stuff he does, which I have studied with him live. Hiya, Andrea. Didn't get time to chat again. It's been just that's what happens when you go away. You miss everybody's like chats, and you've got piles of people all lined up. Yeah, it's a good book, Gory. But he's got a lot of other books as well, not just this one, but this is, I would say, the starting point is what he would call it. But on here, this goes over. He's in the United States, but he'll tell you everything that you need to know about the UCC, and the cabal rule the world. They rule everything. So, and they are the UCC. So I'm not saying to do it or not to do it. I'm just saying that, especially if you're going to do the 1099, which he tells you a lot about. You want to protect yourself from the IRS because you have to talk to them. Tazadaq Shah, all right? That's Tazadaq, Tazadaq, Tazadaq. Surname, I don't know what his surname is. I think his middle name might be Shah, Shah. But he runs a YouTube channel called the Deprogrammed Enlightener, or something like that, or something like the True Disciple of Christ, right? But if Tazadaq, if you put Tazadaq in into YouTube as well as into Google, it's going to come up. Not many people call that either. So now on there they do. He shows like a lot of A for V as well, accept for value, and I've done quite a lot. Accept for value courses like with him, as well as looking at like other people that show videos. I can't remember his name. Paul. Oh man, he's from, I don't know where he's from, somewhere in England. Deprogram Enlightener. Yeah, it's something like that. True Disciples of Christ. All right, okay. So the Deprogram Enlightener is his YouTube, and the True Disciples of Christ is his website. Right, excellent. Okay, so I've actually done quite a lot of live webinars with him, did a lot of studying with him, and I've bought a lot of his products, not just like the books, but a lot of the well, it's not DVDs nowadays, is it? Hey, Les, it's you send, what do you call them? Flash drives. So yeah, get the little one to bed. You have to get the little ones to bed. So and two of the big things that I have done with him on there was the A for V, accept for value, higher dime bar, and the 1099. So on the 1099, I mean, I'm not being like funny, I'm not saying for you to go and buy it or anything, because the it's a lot of money, but you can go and do one of the live trainings with him, if you can listen to him. Now, if you do go and try and join him, I would tell him, and I don't mean this big-headed or anything, because I'm not, I don't mean this, but he doesn't like people going along that he doesn't know. And he'll question you and who you are and what you are. Do you work for the government? Are you spying on me? and stuff like that, he'll ask you that. But if you say, look, you know, Peter Wilson sent me here, he'll kind of trust you a bit more. All right. But if you're going to do that, then you've got to be extremely good and not be rude to him, and you know, make sure you're not, because he'll kick you off. He's you know, he's a guy. He is a guy. He's brilliant, you know, but oh, I can't see now. Where's my glasses? I'm scared to touch the laptop. Every time I touch it, it switches off my microphone, or still can't see that. Bad voc. All right. Hiya there, Vicky. So anyway, but it definitely well worth listening to there, you know, like going to listen to Tazadaq. I did a lot of the A for V, and he's been doing this for, I think, about 15, 16 years or something, probably longer than that. But some of the stuff that I've seen on his archives, you know, we're up quite old, you know, so like, you know, he's a clever man, and he's worth listening to. Okay, so on the 1099 thing, if you go and look and you want it, you can actually do, what do you call it, live training with him, but you've got to, he does different things every week, so you kind of just go on and ask him to do things. But look, if you do, what do you call it when you put your name in, subscribe, and then if hey, how you doing, Nick? Yeah, fit like the and then you keep an eye on when he'll send you emails, and if it says up 1099 or A for V, you know, whichever one, if you want to listen to and listen to them. I mean, the I'm going to go over little bits about that tonight and the reasons why it exists and how to do it. But I haven't obviously done it all from him, but I'm just telling you, people who are well worth listening to. Now, it is a big book, you know, so if you want a little bit of easier reading, there's a couple of books that you can get on Amazon. I can't even remember the names. It's something like The Straw Man, and they're just tiny little book. It looks similar to this, but it's even smaller than this. Okay, but I mean, I've read them all, and I keep them all, and I cross-reference, because you know, when something comes in your mind and you think that rings a bell, and you go back and you have a look again, and it reminds you of something else, and you've got to keep going backwards and forwards like that. You can't just read and forget. Do you know what I mean? Or read and say, oh, I'll remember that forever, because you won't. But it's good to be like going backwards and forwards, and you know, like listening about things and cross-referencing. But this one's good. All right, have a look at that one. Freedom. It's more than just a 7-letter word. Now, when it's saying Magna Carta 1215, don't get carried away and think it's going to all be about Article 61 or Magna Carta. It references it. I reference it, but I don't rely on it, and I don't plead it, and I don't like get carried away by it, because it's to do with like what we're doing and what they are doing to us, right, is about everything. So what is this called? That's called freedom, all right? But also the other one is called the straw man. There's two of them, and they're very similar looking, but I think they're even smaller than that. Okay. Oh, right there, yeah. Oh, hang on, let's put that under there. And hang on, get me all my books. So well worth having a good look at. Now, if you're talking about the Magna Carta and you're talking about like 1215, what I do thoroughly recommend, you can see how well used this book is and all the notes that I've got in it. All right, and I keep going backwards and forwards. And this is called Democracy Defined, the Manifesto. Now, there. Now, this, believe it or not, this is still relating to the United States. because you see this bit at the bottom here. Oh, there we are. There we are. See the names there. William Penn. Can you see that name there? William Penn. William Penn. He founded Pennsylvania. He founded Pennsylvania in the United States. And the reason why he's in here, which is very valid to today's world that we find ourselves in, him and his friend William Meade were preachers, like priests, you know, like saying whatever, they're reading the Bible. And they got arrested for preaching in the wrong place. They said it was an unlawful place to preach. So they like carted them off to jail and took them to court. Now this is where the meet your straw man, is that what it's called? Yeah, great. Well, that's the book that's on Amazon, Meet Your Straw Man. Is that correct? Something like that, though. They're two good little books. But anyway, and when they got taken away and they had to go to court, what happened is still what should happen today in any court in any part of the world. And they had, right, a trial de jure, okay? A de jure, right, which means by the jury, right? So they had 12 men, well, it would have been men, because you know that by then anything that had to do with court had to be a man, right? Which is where the term testify comes from, which is like literally if they had to actually say anything to the court, then they had to, I don't know why, but they had to grab the testicles when they actually said it, and that meant that they were testifying. That's true, right? It's not sexist, it just is what it is. You know, so anyway, they had to go to court for preaching in an unlawful place, and the jury, 12 people of their peers, or 12 men of their peers, right, they found them not only not guilty, right, and these men pleaded, well, they didn't plead guilty. What they said was, we're not guilty of the crime because it is an unjust law. And it's an unjust law, right, to stop us preaching wherever we want to. So the jury found in favor of them two, right? It's William Meade and William Penn. So what happened is then, by a court de jure, which still can happen today because this is the law, real law, forget legislation, forget all that bullshit. This is real law, and I'm not talking about common law, I'm on about just law expressed. Once they find in favor, it also goes against the law or the act, right? So this act was that you weren't allowed to preach in certain places. So because you weren't allowed to preach in certain places by this law, and then found in favor of the plaintiffs, let's call them, the defendants, I should say, then that law or act was absolutely struck off the statute book. And it was a statute book at that time, the same as what we have now, the statute book, acts and statutes. They still had that parliament of a type. So that law and that statute, it had to be struck off the statute book. Now, I tell you what they did, right? The authorities, being exactly the same then as what they are now, were not very happy with the jury for finding in favor of the two defendants, William Meade and William Penn. So they locked the jury up in jail, right, with no food, no water, for a few days, right, and left them there to say, we're not letting you out until you change your mind and find them guilty. Yeah, and that's the truth. Now, if you think I'm lying, you can go down to the Old Bailey in London, and this is a picture of the plaque. That's what it looks like. There. That plaque is up in the Old Bailey in London, the courthouse. Okay, and what it is it's commemorating. Actually, I'll see if I can read it to you. See what it says. It says, near this site, William Penn and William Meade were tried in 1670, I think that says, for preaching to an unlawful assembly. Preaching to an unlawful assembly, that's what it was. In Grace Church Street, this tablet is written in Old English. This tablet commemorates the courage and endurance of the jury, and there's a few different names there, who refused to give a verdict against them, although locked up without food and water, I think it says, for 2 nights. And they were fined. They actually were fined themselves their final verdict of not guilty. The case of the jurymen was reviewed, and on a writ of habeas corpus, so they had to release them through the writ of habeas corpus, which established the right of juries to give their verdict according to their convictions. Now that plaque is still up in the Old Bailey. Now that still stands today as law, and I'm talking about real law expressed, not this bullshit like acts and statutes. And this goes for every country in the world, including Australia, including the United States. All right. So in reality, I don't know how we can do this. I don't know how we do this, but there has to be set up. Now, by what I would call, I've done another course recently, and they called it the law common to I, because common law is not an umbrella you can hide beneath. What you have to do is you have to express law as yourself, as I a man, I a woman. You express the law, right? You tell them the law as it is. But they try to hide everything with these stupid acts and statutes, which is what they were doing here, right? Hiding it with the acts and statutes. So you can't preach to an unlawful, an unlawful assembly, right? What is it that says an unlawful assembly nowadays? But so if we look at that, then we could actually easily, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how, you could have enough people to stand up and say, right, come on, we're going to do a court de jure, and we're going to have, do you know, if someone was getting tried, or they get took to court for one of these COVID fines, this is it, right? This would be a good thing to do, wouldn't it? If they do lock down again, then I could keep my business open and have them come and arrest me like they tried to do last time, and then they can take me to court, and I'll get 12 of you lot to come in as a jury. So then you can decide if that coronavirus 2020 act, whatever it's called, shouldn't have said that word, should I? The C word, is just. Like preaching to an unlawful assembly was not just. Neither is that one, the 2020 thing, just either, is it? So then we can find, against that law. Now, by the law, by the court de jure, and the law expressed, the actual real law, not acts and statutes, then that would have to get kicked out. They would have to strike that act or that statute off the statute book. So who wants to do that then? Who's going to be a juror? Sharpie, you're going to be a juror? Yeah, right. That's what needs to happen, because the only way that we're going to get out of this is that more and more people need to be able to actually express the law, right? Then, I'm going to keep my business open. So if they do lock it down, all right, so then we're going to get them to come in and arrest. And that is how you actually fight against that corruption, So like I say, you can see all the notes in here, and I've still got them. I've read this hundreds of times, because there's so many great notes in here, and there's so many great things in here, and it tells you all about. It's amazing about how they fought, despotism from back in the day, because what we call democracy and what we've got now, and everyone says, yeah, but it's a democratic system. It's not. This is not democracy. Now, I know this is completely different from what I was actually going to talk about, but it's not a democracy because it's suffrage. Suffrage. Now, have you ever heard the term suffragettes? You must have, in both sides of the Atlantic, right? So the thing is, right, if you actually have, which literally is, right, the rule of the mob, and it is the rule of the mob, then it can't be democracy. What we mean by the rule of the mob, and if you like have a read through this book, and it'll explain it really, really well. So, for instance, that if you have like 1,000 people, and one of them says, "Well, that's not fair," then the democratic thing was you don't do it. That is real democracy. Whereas what they say is, right, oh, if like 501 people say we're doing it, then we're doing it. That's mob rule, not democracy. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm saying? Now, I agree with that. Why is it that we can go and do like a vote? And I tell you what, I mean, there's no election or vote or anything that's anything like real or fair. It's completely all corrupt. Everything that you ever see is corrupt. It's all a lie. And whoever is being picked by the cabal to put in there is going in. Simple as. That's it. Done. All right. But the what should happen on any vote there, if one person, which is in this jury, we're talking about on there, if on the jury, if one person in a jury stands up and says that's not right, then they have to find in favor of not right. It's either all or nothing. All or nothing. That is democracy. That is real democracy. So it takes it back to like ancient Greece. Demokratia was the name where it comes from, democracy. And it goes into, for you reading on that book, it really explains about how it actually used to work and how you would have what they would call now a Senate. But it wasn't a Senate like what you think is in America, but it was the similar building, similar thing, and a similar thing happened in how they discussed it. You know, this is like what's happened now is what they've completely perversed it and like corrupted it and turned it into something filthy and disgusting. That there's no law. Law does not exist at all, right? And these things that they call courts are not courts. There is no say. There is no backup. There is no law, right? So when you have a democratic system, everyone is heard. Everyone. Okay, so you know the it's just so annoying, like you know, like when you talk about these things, or I get carried away. I know I do, right? But anyway, so let's move on because I still haven't said anything about the House Joint Resolution 192 or the Bills of Exchange 1882, which is what I was supposed to actually be talking about. But there you go. So another book, another good book that you have to have a look at is that one. Now, there's a lot of these redemptions. This one's, I think, one of the newest one, or there might be another one. It says book 1 of 4. All right, this is the 5th edition. Again, when I'm going through, like on Tazadaq's book, and from Tazadaq's book, then also looking, which is that one, looking through the redemption book, and combining it with the book about freedom, okay, from the Magna Carta. And you still have to study. You don't want to get hung up on the Magna Carta. I'm not going into Article 61 or anything like that. I'm not. I don't buy it at all, right? But I definitely buy democracy. And I've got another one. This is called Democracy Defined. And I've also got another one, something called by the same guys called Ken Dewdney. See his name? I don't know how to. Dewdney. All right, I got another one, and it's about the jury, 12-man jury, something like that, or there, and the 1099 courses. But like I was saying, Tazadaq, right? He, like I told you, he was runs a lot of the 1099 courses. So if you go on to his website, which someone had just put up before, then you can have a look at some of the 1099 courses. Now, I actually had 2 1099 courses on my laptop, which have disappeared. I don't know how I've done it on there, but what I would do, right, if you want to learn more about that, look at Tazadaq's course, but then also, right, look for a guy called Gene Keating, right? Now, when I say Gene Keating, I mean Jean, Gene Keating, Keating, Gene Keating. And he's been around for a long time, very clever, very well practiced, and he apparently has a lot of success in the 1099. So if you, like I said, if you're doing the 1099 and you want to go for it, get the backup by there. I've also have a letter which I want to ask. It's from a woman called Anastasia. There is a list of the books on my website, Jack. All right, there is a list of those books on my website. Which web address, Mike? Which one are you talking about? Mine or Tazadaq's? I don't know his website address, but someone put it something about the true disciple of Christ, something like that. All right. So check out like Gene Keating for a lot of the work on the 1099. Okay. So looking at those, and then on the 1099, it's literally a tax form. So because you have to do a tax form, you have to put yourself onto the IRS list, if you want to call it a list. You have to apply for an EIN number to get these forms. You can't get them without it. So I have them. I've got the 1099. I've got the EIN, and I've got the 1099 form sent to me. I had to ring up. And I've spoke to Anastasia and Tazadaq, and got well. I had to Google to find the numbers of the IRS office in Austin, Texas. All right, they gave me that number, and from there I haven't filled the forms in yet. Now the woman that I was talking to, Anastasia, I think that's how you say her name. She actually gave me a letter that you can send off. Now, I don't know who wrote the letter, so I'd have to ask her if I would like to give it to anyone else. I don't know who wrote the letter. And you give this letter to the IRS with your 1099 form. And you put down all your figures. Now, I've showed you before, you have to, for instance, if you want to do it, we're running out of time, but let's just say it was 2018. So you've got to the end of December to apply for it. So you would get everything that you've paid out of your bank, everything you paid out of your bank for the whole of 2018, every direct debit for everything, mortgage, gas, electric, water, not if you've claimed it back somewhere else though, right? So just got to remember that. You can only claim one thing back once. You can only go back 3 years on a 1099 claim. Everyone will tell you that. Anastasia will tell you that. Gene Keating will tell you that. Tazadaq will tell you that. Now it can be. You're not talking to banks, by the way. You don't have to speak to your bank whatsoever. You're talking to the IRS, and you have to make a list out, and you put it on your 1099, and you send it off with this letter to the IRS. Touch the form, I touched the thing again, sorry, but you're supplying them with the facts and figures, right? You're giving them all the facts and figures from your own bank account, right? But from the bank account, you've wrote it all down and you send it off to them, okay? Asking them to fill the form in. So you ask them with this letter to fill the form in, okay? So that's how you actually do it. I couldn't hear. I switched it off for a few seconds there. I have to. And I don't know. Every time I touch something tonight, it switches something off. for whatever reason, my laptop is playing up a little bit. It wouldn't even allow me. You know, when you get the mouse, it won't work anymore. Okay, so the letter that you send off with all the facts and figures, the to the IRS. Oh, sorry, I was reading people's comments there, asking them to do it. Now, what I've been told by Anastasia is, she sent it off. She actually sent it off with all the facts and figures, all right? And from there, they have started filling in her form. So if it's successful, then that means that her form is going to be returned to her. The IRS have filled it in, although she's given them all the information. And that means that everything that she's paid for that year, which I think she's actually, I'm sure she said it was 2017, but I could be wrong, gets paid back. That means everything you paid on a direct debit, a standing order, right? By your card, your bank card, right? Anything you've bought, petrol, fuel, food, clothes, it doesn't matter. It's that card. What you can't do is transfers to yourself or bank withdrawals, like, you know, with a cash machine, the hole in the wall. You can't claim them back, but everything else you can. All right. So, and part of the reason why you can do that is called a 1099 OID, original issuer discount, and it comes to fruition because of Public Policy House Joint Resolution 192. Now, here's the interesting thing. All right, listen to this now. All right, I have to put my glasses on to read it. House Joint Resolution Policy 192 is from the United States. So why does it apply across the world? And it does apply across the world, but it's part of the UCC. Isn't that weird? All right. So actually, this is very small writing. I'm going to try and read this. Okay. Now, they did it by creating an emergency. And what they've done is they actually took away all the, you know what they did in fact, I'll pull it back a little bit. Okay. I'll pull it back a little bit and then switch up to there. So we're going to go back to the Napoleonic War, 1815, 1816, somewhere in that area. Now, the United Kingdom, or England really, right, was made bankrupt. Who was it made bankrupt by? Can anyone know who? That is when the UK, everyone says, oh, it's bankrupt and it's gone bankrupt next year, last year, the next year. It's been bankrupt since 1815. All right. So who knows who it was bankrupted by? I'm going to give you a minute or two to tell me. First and last name, by the way. All right. So, you know, a lot of people talk about somebody done a UCC filing to stop the UK government going bankrupt and again last year. But the fact is they've been bankrupt since 1815. So that is like a is well, yeah, I'm going to give you that then. Titanium, but it's Nathan Meyer. Yeah, Nathan Meyer Rothschild. Okay, that's who it was. Nathan. Yeah, I know it was the Rothschilds. That's too easy. Nathan Meyer Rothschild. Okay, right. He actually made the England bankrupt. Now he was German. He was German, and he was using the Napoleonic War, which wasn't against England and France. It was France against everybody. Hiya, Margarita. You know, but this is where it started. Okay, when it was made bankrupt. Then what he done is he actually used that war, and he used the Battle of Waterloo to basically bankrupt the entire country, because he pretended that Napoleon had won. So he was selling all his stocks, trying to get it to drop down, and it did drop down. Everything dropped down. So when all the prices are going down of everything, right? So everything's like going mad. Everyone's trying to sell, and it's crashing the price. It's crashing the country. It's crashing the economy. So when it hit rock bottom, couldn't go any further, he bought everything. The Rothschilds. Now his cousins, right, on the other side, were already funding Napoleon. So he was funding England. The other side were funding Napoleon. So they had no way of losing, did they? Right? So they bankrupted. It wouldn't surprise me, yeah, that it was De Pfeffel's bloody De Pfeffel. What a name. Where's that come from? Probably was his German. Anyway, stop my head going. So that's when it was like made bankrupt, right? So from there, they have got the central bank. This is where they've controlled the whole of the UK ever since. The Bank of England. It's a central bank. It's not English, right? It's German, if anything, because the guy was from Germany, but it wasn't from Germany. It was from way back. Game of Thrones, man. The whole thing's a Game of Thrones. The Iron Bank. The Iron Bank was ruling everything. It's just so, you watch the Game of Thrones, you know what's going on now. It's like a documentary saying, look, what's going to happen to you? But we're going to replace like all the dead people with that, you know. So anyway, but it all goes back to playing with your souls as well, because if you take that right the way back, which I've said before, you're talking about like the Pope doing the Unum Sanctum, but this is how it all played down. And then Henry VIII in 1540 doing this first set of KV Trust, and then coming down to June the 18th, 1815, the Battle of Waterloo, right? So that then we've had like what's his name, Maya, like Rothschild, who actually like bankrupted England, which United Kingdom. All right. So from there, not that much longer, I've got the 1882, they created the Bills of Exchange Act, 1882. Okay. From the Bills of Exchange Act, 1882, it moves on. From there, there's lots of different things which create accept for value, A for V's, which what I was telling you about Tazadaq doing it. But that's how we know how we can do it from there. And also the promissory notes on the Bills of Exchange Act, because they took away money. In the Bills of Exchange Act, 1882, they took away money. And then in 1913, right, they took it all away, right, and they took the backing of the, it used to be called pound, they still call it sterling, and it's not, because it's not backed by silver anymore, pound sterling. It's not. They took it away in 1913. So in 1913, you couldn't, in England, you couldn't own gold or silver. And they said it was the orange juice scam. They said it was to help England fight the war, First World War, 1914. So that you weren't allowed to have gold and silver. Now, what does that sound like? Right? Where's the big, how comes like people don't talk about that in England now? How comes people are so worried now, saying, oh, isn't it terrible that they're trying to mandate this? What a terrible thing to do. What about when they went around and says, right, any wealth that you have, any gold and silver you have to give it to us. Oh, how much are you going to give us for it? Nothing. Give me it or I'm putting you in jail. How's about that? How's about that for some democracy? So how comes people aren't talking about that, right? Like still now, because it happened in England in 1914. It's not, 100 and odd years ago. It's like, it's not like it's 1,000 years ago. And people forget. And people are going to forget about this in 100 years' time. They will forget. Right? So from in 1913, and you've got to remember, 1912, something else happened in 1912, which laid up the 1913 taking away the silver. Somebody tell me what happened in 1912 that helped them take away the silver and gold of the United Kingdom in 1913 to help create the First World War. What happened in 1912? Somebody tell me on the chat. And it also drove straight the wedge through to make it easy for them to do House Joint Resolution 192 in 1933. Right? Two things that they did. one thing that they did that helped them, two events, the Titanic, exactly, right? The biggest opponents of the central bank were on the Titanic, and for some miraculous reason, the Titanic sank with all of the people that were on it opposing the central banks. 90% of the enemies of the Rothschilds drowned. Just coincidence though, okay? And then the First World War was just a coincidence. They just wanted all them people to die for no reason, just a coincidence, right? And then it comes into 1933, and what they do, the same as what they did in 1914, right? With they took the gold and the silver away from the United Kingdom, they did it in the United States. All the silver and gold had to be, especially gold, had to be given in to the government, right? And if you didn't give them it in the United States in 1933, you faced $10,000 fine, right, and 10 years in prison. In 1933, 10,000. Who the hell had £10,000 or dollars? Sorry, in 1933. You know, so then you had the House Joint Resolution come out, which I'm not going to try and read. I've actually got it there. This is Tazadaq's book I'm reading it from. I've actually got it on the laptop. Let me have a look if it's easier to read on there. It's just too small. House Joint Resolution. There you go. So on June 5th, 1933, Congress enacted House Joint Resolution 192 to suspend the gold standard and to abrogate the gold clause. This resolution declared that whereas the holding or dealing in gold affect the public interest and are therefore subject to proper regulation and restriction, and whereas the existing emergency has disclosed that provisions of obligations which purport to give the obligee a right to require payments in gold of a particular kind of coin or currency are inconsistent with the declared policy of Congress in the payment of debts. The resolution declared that any obligation requiring payment in gold or a particular kind of coin or currency or in any amount in money policy, and every obligation hereto or hereafter incurred shall be discharged upon dollar for dollar in any coin or currency which at the time of payment is legal tender for public and private debts. There you go. All right, got rid of all money and put in legal tender. All right. So whereas we have the Bank of England in the United Kingdom, or the Bank of Scotland, it's all the same thing. They have the Federal Reserve. There's nothing English about the Bank of England, and there is nothing federal about the Federal Reserve. It is all privately owned, right, by the Rothschilds. Okay, and right the way back, we were just talking about it, what good old Nathan Meyer did. Nathan Meyer Rothschild bankrupted the country. All right, which brings us along to why we can do the 1099 and have our money returned, right? That's what created this, and it's under the UCC. What a thing. So you could not, you cannot deal with the IRS unless you have a UCC 1 file. Don't give them your name. Don't give the IRS your name. All right. So now, when they created the House Joint Resolution 192, and when they created the Bills of Exchange Act 1882 on both sides of the Atlantic, and you got to remember that when you're talking about England here, you're talking about every other country in the world, because England, right, was run by then, which was in 1816. They gave the Convocation Crown. That was the third crown. That was the crown that Henry VIII was awarded. They awarded that. Who awarded it? The Venetians awarded it to the City of London. Hello, here's me boxer dog coming in. Beauty. All right. So then everything has been run. The whole world has been run from the Vatican and the City of London until they took over Washington, D.C. as well. So then they got the three. All right. But so through the City of London, which is where the judicial, the judges, the what do you call it, the bar, the Temple Bar, and from there the financial district. It's all run from London. So then they've took over the whole world, Australia, New Zealand. Everything's going by what they call the Commonwealth. They called it the British Empire, but nothing to do with Britain. It was the Cabal Empire, you know, the Crown Corporation Empire. Yeah, that's what it was. So the hello you. It's my little boxer coming in to see me. All right. So when they did the House Joint Resolution on the Bills of Exchange Act 1882, they put us into debt by using us as men and women as collateral against the loans from the central bank, because money does not exist anymore. Gold and silver was not allowed to be used anymore. They were using federal notes, as in the Federal Reserve notes, be it US dollar from the Federal Reserve or the pound from the Bank of England or Bank of Scotland. It's the same thing, right? So they were using us as collateral, using our bodies or our sweat equity, future sweat equity. That is why we are allowed, right, to do the A for V or accept for value, because when they did these House Joint Resolution or that one, what do you call it, the Bills of Exchange 1882, they said that this is an exchange for our utilities or the benefits of the country, which is gas, electricity and water. Natural rights, gas, electricity and water. Although you wouldn't have had gas, but like not like we have now. But that is how we're allowed to do it. Now I tell you someone else you want to go and watch. Look at my video that shows you on how to do the gyro slip. Right, I've got it on the website, but I've also got it on the YouTube channel, and it shows you how to use the gyro credit, is what they call it. So when you should never pay anything by direct debit, right? You should always be paying through a paper bill. So you get them to send you a paper bill. What do they send you? They send you on the bottom the gyro credit. It actually tells you it's a gyro credit. So they're giving it to you because it's all paid for. It's all paid for by the commercial bank, by the central bank, to repay for our collateral. All right. So it's already paid for. So you shouldn't be paying it again, but everybody does it. So what happens is you actually pay it with debt notes. So your bank, well, the commercial bank or the central bank or your SETA KV trust, think of it on them terms. That's already paid for your gas bill. So then you want to go and pay it again. So they're double dipping. But what you're doing is you're paying it with debt notes, Federal Reserve notes, be it US dollars or Bank of England or Australian or whatever. It is Federal Reserve notes. So it's debt notes. So you are increasing your country's debt. If you pay that bill, you are increasing your country's national debt. Think of that. That's why you shouldn't be paying your bill. Now, I'm not telling you to stop paying it and doing what other people tell you to do and scream and shout and swear at everyone and then run down to your bank and scream and shout and swear at them until they start giving you all your direct debit money back. I'm saying you shouldn't be paying by direct debit in the first place, and you should be doing an accept for value. I told you how Tazadaq was showing you how to do the accept for value. And from there, right, you know, I've got it up on my website as well. Fair enough, it's on the members site, but try going and getting it off him for nothing as well, right? Put a lot of effort into actually doing the research on, excuse me, how to do it and how to create it and everything. So, but you know, you can do it yourself as well. You can go and do the research yourself. You don't have to become members. You don't have to go on there. right? But if you want to, it's all on there and it shows you, all right, how to actually do it, right? So, but the video on YouTube, totally free, it'll show you how to do the gyro credit, all right? So if you go onto my YouTube channel, and if you can't find, oh, well, you should be able to find mine, but also have a look at that guy I just told you about. His name is Paul Webster. Seen him months and months ago. And he does something similar. And also there's another guy who talks about him, who shows you how to do it as well. All right. So by doing that, that is how you should be paying your bills. Not you can do what you like. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm not giving you advice, right? You can go and do like the different route and start screaming and shouting and swearing at everyone and demanding all your direct debit. You can do that. I did it again. Sorry. Didn't mean to. Every time I touch something, it switches something off. But anyway, yeah, Paul Webster, like he's done this before. He's got videos up the same, similar type of thing, and he explains a little bit as well. So check it out, or like I say, check out like Tazadaq's as well. But my gyro credit one is up on there for sure. Okay, Michael Tellinger, he does great stuff about like the promissory note, which the promissory note is accessible and usable because of the Bills of Exchange Act. Okay, 1882. Okay, so do we only need a 1099 or do we need a 1099? You need a 1099 OID. OID. That is a form that you have to send off. Now, I thought I had got the wrong one. I was talking about Anastasia, and I showed her the forms and everything that I have, and we went over the letters and everything like that, and how to fill them in and where to send them. So, if you have a look at the other course I was going to show you, it's totally wiped off my laptop. I've gone on to show you it tonight. It's totally gone. But the have a look at the Tazadaq side on the 1099. Have a look at Gene Keating, and from them two, you should be able to get enough information to do an application if you want to. But if you're going to do it, you have to get yourself an EIN number from the IRS in the United States. And if you're going to do that, then get yourself on the UCC1. Don't do it without a UCC1. Okay? So just bear that in mind. You don't even have to do anything else with the UCC one. You don't have to give it to Doris, the Pfeffel bum wipe, or anybody else, right? But you just have to keep that to the side, and all you send to them lot is the lawful notice and demand, and the other backup forms. Okay, so the backup forms are a big mixture of forms that we got from the other books that I showed you. Not really from Tazadaq's, because his are very, very different. He does it in a kind of a different way, but more on the freedom books and also on the redemption. Looking at the, not that you'll find it in this book at all, but we're working off this because a lot of it has to do with, in my view, with democracy, right? And where we should be going with democracy, and where we're going with true law, the law of I, a man, and a little bit linking on to where the Magna Carta started. You got to remember the Magna Carta was set up by the Cabal, set up by the Venetians. You can get in, I'll tell you how I got my EIN number. I rang the, you can get the IRS number in Houston, Austin, Texas. You can get that online easily. And then, right, once you have that, I rang them on Skype, and because it'll cost you fortunes if you use a normal phone. Okay. Well, I've explained all about why you need a UCC1. Just talking about the 1099 and exactly why. And if you don't want to do it, then you don't have to do a UCC1. You can leave that alone. Okay. So, but if you are going to try and do a 1099, then protect yourself with the UCC1 filing, because you have to speak to the IRS. All right, so it's up to you if you want to speak to the IRS without a UCC1 protection. So if we compare that to going into the private, let's call it going into the private. So we have the lawful notice and demand, a hold harmless agreement, a security agreement, rescinding all signatures, and a power of attorney in fact, and one more that I can't think of. Oh, affidavit of non-corporate status and affidavit of truth. So 6 forms that we put together in a pack. That is when you put yourself in the private. That's kind of how you do that in America, where you would use the UCC1 as well as that. All right. But if you don't want, in the UK, if you don't want to do a 1099, then you don't have to do the UCC1. You only have to do those forms. Okay, so that is what I'm talking about. But that's why I was talking about how to do the UCC1. So, Mike, to get an EIN, like I say, Austin, Texas, Google it, the IRS office, and use Skype, or else it'll cost you a fortune. So once you get the EIN number, then you can ring and get the 1099 OID forms. All right, then you can figure out how to work it out. Now, once you actually get it, you can write down and do some kind of accounting. There was somebody I was talking to the other day who were an accountant, and they were going to get it. But like I'm saying, once you can do that, then we can send the forms off, asking the IRS to complete their tax form, because it's very complicated. Tax form looks weird. Okay, you know. All right, so but anyway, we're going back. So like I was saying on that, and because of the House Joint Resolution and because of the Bills of Exchange Act 1099 is why we can actually do the accept for value and also the promissory note. That's what creates it. So I did have it written down right on the actual act, because it tells you on the act. I'm sure I had wrote it down somewhere. I probably lost it now, because I've wrote it down, the House Joint Resolution. Yeah, I've wrote it on all of our forms. Can I do a screen share on here? Share, can I do that? Share screen. All right, I'm going to have a look and see if I can share screen here, and I'm going to show you one of the forms that we do. Let's have a look. Let me have a look here. Yeah, I'm going to open this up now. This is my website. So let's go and have a look here now. Okay. So A for V, support and paperwork. All right, I'm going to show you a conditional acceptance. All right, so let's see if I can share my screen. So share screen, entire window. Well, yeah, but Chrome tab, conditional acceptance, share. Oh, hopefully you can see that. I have no idea if you can or you can't, right? So you can let me know after I've finished. Okay, but this here is a conditional acceptance for an A for V. So if you have sent in an A for V, so we've sent it. I am Anne Fred Smith of 17 Smith Road, Smithtown, Smithshire. Very good imagination, haven't I? AB12 3CD, AB12 actually, 1, 2, 3, ABCD. And I'm sending it to a man, Git Scammer, sometimes acts as Git Scammer Director, Scammy Debt Company Limited, 11 Thief Town, Robertown, 11 Thief Street, Robertown, Scamshire. Okay, right. Notice of conditional acceptance. Now, this is Agnes in the office is writing to you, by the way. Right. So, greetings, a man Git Scammer, sometimes acting as Git Scammer Director. Reference number 0123456778. I received correspondence from you in relation to the above referenced account dated blah blah. I would be delighted to deal with this matter further upon receipt of proof of claim that this matter has not already been settled privately with your director, Git Scammer, on or around blah blah, with a money order as in line with Bills of Exchange Act 1882, Part 4, Section 83, Paragraph 1. I am happy to allow you 10 days from receipt of this notice to provide proof that settlement of the account has not been effected. Otherwise, I will consider further correspondence to be a vexatious abuse of my time and will hold you liable for my costs in dealing with this matter further, to be billed at the rate of £100 per hour or part thereof. Okay, so let's see if I can get rid of it now. Stop sharing. So if I stop sharing and go back to there, hopefully that is back. So you have to let me know, did that work? Can you let me know if you actually seen that and I'm actually back? Let me know. So all of that comes from the Bills of Exchange Act. All of that comes from all of those acts. Yeah, we did it. Did that sorted out then, Jez? Champion. Very good, very good. See how clever I am? I didn't know that that would work at all. I have no idea. Now, that is about it really for now. So one thing that I do want to say, I was away all week, and just before that I went away, I was looking at Robert from Observation Deck, which I recommend everybody do, especially now if you're interested in or worried about or want to argue with council tax. All right, so he's just done the thing about council tax. I haven't got the book, I haven't seen it or anything, but I will obviously. But just so you know, if you've got anything that you want to know about council tax and arguing about council tax, then go and have a look at what he's done. He's done a video on it, and from the video you can buy the book. Now you got to imagine, right? I heard somebody, or I didn't hear somebody, I seen somebody put up a comment on someone else's, I can't remember why, right? And it said something like, how dare he charge £30 for a book when, you know, it's just a book. Oh, gee, how weird, man. I mean, look, this guy has spent like hours and hours and hours for months on reading and researching and finding out ways on how we can actually argue about like this dreadful, corrupt and fraudulent tax. All right. And then, right, council tax is what is it now, like £1,000, between £1,000 and £2,000 a year per person, and like, you know, this woman was going how disgusting it was to charge £30. I gotta be off your lid, you know, to say something like that. But she did say that. Now, you know, but there you go. What other books do I recommend from him? Well, all of them. Trying to think what they are now. We've got like the Commercial Liens, you've got the Debt Bomb, and we've got another one that's not a book. You've got something about the law. Can't remember the full. I've got all his books, but also what do you call it? The masterclass, which is the debt masterclass as well. So you know, which isn't a book. It's like a course. You have to go and do the course. But I recommend everything from Robert, everything. So, you know, but I've done I've done the course that he has. I've got all the books. I've studied all the books. I keep studying. I go back all the time and then cross-reference it with like the other stuff that I have here. and I'm looking forward to having a look at the council tax stuff, because what he says on the council tax is don't just cancel it and don't go into controversy by demanding it back like other people are telling you to do it now. I'm not saying you can't do it, of course you can, but I'm just saying, right? Well, I tell you what, the debt books will apply everywhere, Linda. I'm telling you, everywhere, because the debt books talk about and the fight people. Your data. Your data gets sold. As soon as your data is sold, it's broken the law, and it's broken the law anywhere in the world. Okay, so it can be like USA, Australia, Canada. If they have sold your data, which is what they do, they never sell your debt, by the way. They just sell your data. As soon as they've done that, they broke the law, and you can close the debt down. Okay, and if you want anything else, do you know what it is? I should let me have another look up here as well. I got speaking to somebody the other day about council tax. They do it a different way. So if you did studied the two different ways, I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it now. Where is it? It's going to be under groups. And it's something to do. There we go. They don't call it council tax. They call it council rates because it's from Australia. But it's exactly the same, and it's the Commonwealth. So if you're in any of them Commonwealth countries, then for sure, this Facebook group, it's called the Reality of Council Rates. So go on, have a look on Facebook, and then there's an affidavit by a guy called Peter Joseph. And apparently he's had, according to him, I think it's him, he's had like 19 closures of the council with this affidavit. So if you have a look at that, but then also have a look at the way that Roberts described it on his new book. I don't know what it's called, but like the from there, and he uses an affidavit process as well. Okay, so the Canada, it's exactly the same as the it's the Commonwealth, Canada, Australia, all of that. So this will yeah email Robert, definitely, so and this is all about helping people, and I'm trying to help people, so have a look at those resources that I've said, and have a look at my website. I'm gonna, obviously I have, this is live, so once I'm finished, I'll put all the links into my website and my YouTube channels and everything like that, and all the rest of it. All right, but just quick, if you've got any questions, fire them off now, because we'll be shooting off in a second, and then get it all put up and on there. Okay, glossary channel is a good one. I like that one on YouTube. If you go and have a look on Observation Deck, Robert's channel is called Observation Deck, and it's his last video, the very newest video. And if you look on there, there's links and everything to it, and you'll find it on there. The author's name, it's Robert. All right, so let me have a look. Any more comments? Any problem? Yeah, so have a look at those books and have a look at them. But I tell you what as well, I saying like I showed you before, Ken Dudney, right? That there is just as important, democracy in is Darren not getting back to you? Oh yeah, I mean, unfortunately Darren is so busy. But I tell you, I'll give him a chase up for you, Wendy. Well, we've done a lot of work about trust. I did want to say more about trust today, but it's just like the time. Cool. But we will do more about trust, and like we're trying to get Darren to do a bit more as well, talking about it. And I'm busy setting up a private trust that's going to tie in with the new security agreement. I've developed, I think, probably 50% of the security agreement. And once the security agreement is finished, I'm going to be able to tie it in with the trust. I would call it a mini private trust. So once that gets set up, you're going to have a mini private trust, and you can do, if you've already done your privacy documents and sent them off to all the 7, no matter what country. Switch my mic off again. All I do is like touch my computer. I'm gonna have to. There's something wrong with it. It keeps switching it off every time I Yeah, so just said, Tracy, it's all on there, all of them. The debt bomb and the masterclass, the commercial lien book, and there's another one, I can't remember it, about laws, and the latest one as well, which is the council tax one. Recommend them all thoroughly. Yeah, I know. I switched off again, Jez. Every time I touch something, it switches off. All right, but yeah, got to stop touching everything. I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is? I think it's because I went to Scotland. I've been up Scotland and it's broke my computer being in Scotland. It's all that Highland air, I think. And sitting on the oven trying to get the internet link, I think, is what's finished it off. There you go. So the book from Robert on the observation decks is called Council Tax and the Art of Law. So get that one and check it out, and get a lot of help for yourself on fighting the council tax or any property tax, whatever country you're in. Yeah, it's upgrading. It's breaking. Do you know what it is? I only had this the first, so it's 2 years old now, and I actually only bought it because my old laptop was so bad, and we were having to do all these online classes for all the kids on the first lockdown. And mine wouldn't do it, wouldn't work, So and this one bought it, it's buggering up already. Anyway, so then the I think I'm going to shoot off. Hopefully that you've got good information there. I'm going to be doing next week, I'm going to do both again on the Friday night, plus also for the members only on the private site as well. Okay, so I'm going to do both. But take care, everyone. I will see you all later. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for all your views and your comments and your support and everything else. All right, take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. All right, thanks, Steinbar. Thanks, Nitya. Thank you, Marie. See you later, Jez. Cheers, Linda. Thank you for everybody popping along. Thanks, Kev. Once I've finished Ken, then I'll be able to put the links on. You can't put them on until, at least I don't know how to put them on until it's all sorted. You don't got to remember, I'm not technical that way. I'm not very good. But once it's finished recording, it tells me it's finished recording, and then I'll be able to put it up, and I'll be able to put the I'm going to go and get another one. This is nearly empty. That's why I'm finishing. No, it's not. I'm joking. All right. Okay. I'm going to end it now, and I'll go record it, and I'll stick it up and put all the links in for everyone. Take care. Have a good weekend. Okay. See you all later.